Hi everybody, welcome. My name's Eric Smissen. I am the Marketing and Communications Director for the Orange County Goodwill, and we thought it might be kind of fun to do a little house tour. About 99.9% of the things inside of my house are actually from other people's houses, so we thought it would be kind of fun. And I've employed my little family to help me out. We have David on the camera here, and we're going to be touching base with Richard in the kitchen, kind of looking at some of our fun kitchen items that we've got. But I did want to tell you a couple things. First off, I want to just say that I hope that you are doing well and that you're staying safe during these such strange days. But the other piece is that at the Goodwill, one of the rules is that you can't shop while you're working, right, in the stores. So because I work in the corporate office, if I'm inside a store, it's usually because I'm there because I'm working. So I will see something that I think is kind of fun. I'll think, oh, I'm going to come back and see if that, get that one, later on. And then you know how it goes when you're shopping at thrift stores. If you don't buy it when you see it, it's not going to be there. And that has been the case every single time. Even on the weirdest things that I thought nobody would ever be interested in, I go back and of course, they're gone. So what we do is we shop at estate sales. And if you don't know what an estate sale is, basically an estate sale is usually somebody passes away or maybe they're downsizing, and so they literally just open up the house and you just shop directly from their house. And what a kind of cool sidebar of that is that you get to see some amazing places. And believe me, we have seen some amazing houses while we've been out and about. So again, welcome. I'm going to bring you on into the house and we're going to check some stuff out. So come on in. So come on, we're going to start in the kitchen. So we're coming through our living room and then into our dining room. And we're going to go into the kitchen. So here we are in our kitchen. This is Richard.
Hi.
And so I'm going to turn it over to Richard and let him tell you about some of his favorite things that we've got.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, I think Eric may have mentioned before that we used to live in another home before this. It was a mid-century, and my kitchen really reflected that, and now we're in a 100-year-old home, and it's allowed me to kind of restyle my kitchen, and I've really gone to more of a farmhouse kind of look. I've chosen a lot of long-lasting materials like enamel pieces and cast iron pieces. Over here you can see some enamel pieces from the 1970s. I'm a professional chef, and everyone would think I have really expensive pots and pans at home, but I really pay very little at estate sales and yard sales for these type of pieces, and they're just well designed, and they hold up for so many years, and they have such good energy on them. I know many meals have been cooked in them, and it makes me happy to know that I get to continue with that. And even with our utensils, a lot of utensils that we have here are also from estate sales, and we have a lot of love pieces. I think Eric has a little story about one of his love pieces.
I do indeed. So this piece right here, as you can see, I call this like my cooking stick, and I hope you can see that okay. It's literally just like a stick. It doesn't have any kind of spoon dip or anything like that in there. And I love it. I use it every single time I cook. And the funny story about this one is that a friend of mine that never ever goes estate sailing had called me up one day, and I just happened to be off during the week, and he said, would you like to go estate sailing? I was like, sure, I always like to go estate sailing with new folks. And so it was just me and him, and we decided we were going to go to this estate sale in Laguna Beach. So we drive out to Laguna Beach, and we're driving around in the hills up there, and we are looking everywhere for this house. And the GPS is acting all goofy because we're up in the mountains. And so we're having a double the time finding this place. We're literally driving around for almost 2 hours looking for this house. So we finally see a mail lady, and we were like, oh my God. So we pull over, and we go up to the mail lady, and we give her the address, and we said, oh my gosh, do you know where this place is? Because we cannot find it. And she tells us, you would never find that house in a million years. So she gives us very specific directions. It's like, turn left at the big bush, keep your eye peeled for this railing. And so we ended up finding the house. It was in the most weirdest place. It was down this extremely steep driveway that literally looked like you were going to drive off the side of the mountain. And we ended up finding it. It's this amazing like 1920s artist bungalow that was built like when Laguna Beach was first founded. It has this amazing unobstructed view to the water. And of course, we get there and it's literally like 2 minutes before the sale's going to close. And so we kind of make a really quick scan through the space, but I did find this cooking stick there and I snatched it up. And it makes me super happy, like Richard said, that, you know, I really think about the energy that's inside of this piece and, you know, that all the meals that were cooked beforehand, and then now I'm kind of, you know, adding to the energy of this piece here. So I think it makes it super powerful and helps make my food taste good.
I think it definitely works.
Right.
And one other thing I wanted to also share, too, that I really enjoy is some of these vintage plates, cake stands, platters like this. You can't find anything like this out in the regular store. And they're just so well made, and the colors are beautiful, and I often just make desserts just for the sake of being able to show off my plates. And I have some brownies here that I made for a friend. And I'm really excited to be able to display them here for you. And I think that once I'm done here at brunch, we'll see what I can do for like a little cake landscape.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to be coming back to see Richard. We're going to do a little presentation on the table so you can see some of his presentation pieces.
We'll have brunch.
Yeah, so we'll do that in a little bit, but we're going to make our way into the living room and the dining room and just talk about some of the pieces there and share a couple of other funny stories. So let's go there.
Thank you for visiting.
So this is our dining room, and I'm going to move around this way so that we can get a better angle of this built-in. So this built-in is super cool, very indicative of the time period for this house. And obviously they painted over all the wood, which is, you know, something you have to deal with when you're you know, dealing with a house that's 100 years old. But I did want to point out these amazing cabinets, right? So this is something that we're still working on. Part of us feel like we would want to maybe get some amazing, you know, plateware and some great glasses. Of course, we have some of that stuff. And display it in there. That's very traditional and how these things, why these things were built the way they were. But the other part of us is kind of thinking about doing something fun and creating like dioramas inside of each shelf, or maybe, you know, there's glasses on one shelf and then a really cute diorama on another shelf. So work in progress here. I did want to talk about these pieces right here because they're one of my favorite. So this guy here, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but back in the day, there was a store called Bullock's. It was super awesome, old department store. And these were made specifically for, I want to say Bullock's. Rich, was it Bullock's or Buffum's for these green pieces?
It was
For Bullock's. For Buffum's, right? Okay, so sorry, there was a Bullock's and there was a Buffum's. So these were made specifically for Buffum's, and there were two. And I just happened to find this one at an estate sale, and I immediately fell in love with it just because it has like the most beautiful color, has these amazing lines, and you know, I love animals, and so I'm always kind of drawn to things like this. But anywho, really loved it forever and ever. As I did some research on it, I found out that there was a companion piece that went with it. And for my birthday, we found, my family found it for me, and it's this beautiful deer. So yeah, love those. These are like two of my favorite pieces, so we always make sure that they go out somewhere so that they can be appreciated. We did just get this piece. This was something that we found right before we went into, you know, Safe at Home. And it's this amazing Viking boat. It's just kind of like a resin. But we were amazed. There's not a bit of damage on it. It's super thin, but what's really cool about it is that when the light hits it and the sun comes in, it casts shadows on the wall of like the little guys rowing and stuff like that. So really, really loving that piece as well. And it worked perfectly in this like weird little space. You know, we like to have things on our walls, so we always have, you know, pretty much fill our walls up all the time. And it fit perfectly right there. We do have this great piece that we found at an estate sale, and you know, obviously it's like a hutch, but we just put a bunch of white stuff inside of there as kind of like a collection piece. And one of the things that I wanted to point out, only because I'm going to talk about it in a little bit later, is that Jonathan Adler, I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but he's a potter, and he makes these amazing pieces, and there's some inside here. I don't know if you want to come over and get a little bit closer on some stuff. I can open it up so it's a little bit easier to see because it's glass. But here's like a butter dish that's like a whale, and here's a little fire. You put matches inside of this, and you can use the matches to strike on here to light your fire. This one's another Jonathan Adler piece. And so he does these amazing pieces, and he does a whole bunch of different series of stuff, but his early stuff was this white stuff. And I'm going to move over here only because I want to show you this one piece that was so funny. So you can see, I'm going to move him so you can see him really good. So he's kind of a messy hair little planter guy that we have in here, right? Super cool. Well, what's really interesting about this is that when you go to estate sales, a lot of times when you go into the garage, you buy the stuff directly just from the garage, because a lot of times they move stuff into the garage that they don't consider like super collectible, or whatever. It's like a lot of rusty tools and things like that, or bags of charcoal. But anywho, never pass up the garage, because you never know what you're going to find in there. That piece was actually in the garage, and there are pieces that that Jonathan Adler made that look almost exactly like that. So it's very interesting to that's obviously a vintage piece. So it's interesting to kind of see these inspiration pieces that these different artists use and stuff like that. So we're going to move on over here into the living room. So we have these amazing pocket doors, which I'm going to let David move so he can get a better shot of them. So there are two pocket doors here, which were really something that we fell in love with. We're in the process of kind of cleaning them up. Obviously, they had painted them and had them shoved in the wall for so long that they really never, scraped them and got them all super nice. But David's been working really hard on getting these clean. So these are super fun. And of course, obviously, it's always kind of cool to be able to be like, dinner is served, and you can open them up. So that's kind of a fun little thing about the house. I wanted to show you, well, here's our little going out situation, like our cleaning station. So we have gloves and, Lysol and hand sanitizer and masks. So that every time we have to leave for whatever reason, that's all right there. But I did want to talk a little bit about this piece, only because it was super cool, and it was at one of the craziest houses we had ever gone into. I hope you can get a good shot, because I know we're up against a window. But anywho, it's a miniature, and the house that we went to for this sale was, a lot of times the houses are almost like time capsules. They find a style they like, and they're like, this is it, this is what I'm feeling, and I'm never going to change it. And this house was definitely like 1981. It was all black and white. They had black shag carpet. They had that shiny ceramic, like leopard coffee table with a piece of glass on top. Their fireplace was all mirror, and it wasn't like mirror tile. It was long strips of mirror, the whole thing, and it was rounded. So it was just this bananas house, and it was really interesting because a lot of times when you go to estate sales, they'll have photo albums out, which is so weird for me, because you would think that somebody would want those in the family. But this lady was like, I think she may have come to California to be an actress, but you could literally see her whole life in these photo albums, and it was so interesting. I must have sat there for probably 20 minutes just going through the photo albums and really appreciating like the awesomeness of like her hairstyles and the fashion and all the people that she hung out with. And a lot of the pictures of the house in its heyday, when it was like looking really like they had just finished it and looking really awesome. So sorry, that was a little bit of an aside, but it relates to this piece in that her grandfather made this piece, and it's actually a model of a real building in Lithuania. And it was, I want to say it was a state building or something like that, like a government building that they ended up making into a museum. It's still standing today, and you can go online and see pictures of it, and it looks almost exactly like this. I mean, there's a little bit of damage here. You can see a couple of the little turret things that broken off and stuff. But again, it was one of those things where when I saw it, I couldn't resist it. It was so amazing and such a great conversation piece. And one of the fun things is that like at holidays, you can decorate it. So we'll put little pumpkins and we'll do little wreaths and stuff like that. So it's just a fun little extra thing. I wanted to show this artwork really quick because back in the day, way back in like 1989, we opened a gallery. And so we had an art gallery for 20 years in Santa Ana called the Cage Chameleon. And it was an amazing experience. We loved every single second of it. We met so many amazing people. And so this is like our artwork that we either bought or collected or was gifted to us from artists that we had worked with. The piece in the center here, this big one, is by an artist named Jeff Gillette. And it was kind of interesting. He married another artist named Lori Hassold, and they ended up working with Banksy on Dismaland, which was that big art project that Banksy did in Europe. And so he's always kind of used Disneyland in his pieces here. And an interesting story about this piece is that when me and Richard lived in an apartment, the apartment burned down, and pretty much everything was destroyed. But this was not. And the firemen, when they had come in, they knocked it off the wall. And right here in the sky, it had fallen and hit a dresser, and it tore it up in the corner here, which was a real bummer. And we were visiting with the artist years after this had happened. It was probably about 2 years after it had happened. And the artist had come by to talk and whatever, catch up. And we mentioned that the piece had been damaged, and he asked to see it. And so we brought it out and we showed it to him, and he said, "Can I take it for a couple of days?" And we said, "Sure." And so what he did was he literally cut out all of this part. So obviously this is sky, there's not a lot of detail there, but all of this part here, he cut this out, and then all these little sticks and all the flags and the sign and all this destroyed part here of the old Disneyland sign, he cut that all out by hand and then painted a new backdrop and then glued this on. And you really can't tell. Here is like the line of where he cut it, and you can see that he pasted it back on there. But we came back from work, and it was leaning up against the door of our house, and we couldn't believe it. We were absolutely flabbergasted. And we were super excited because he was just showing in the LA Art Show and with his wife, Lori, and we were able to get one of Lori's pieces, which we've always really wanted. And so then COVID hit, so we're waiting for that piece, so we're super excited to be able to add it to the wall here. So yeah, a little bit about the artwork there. I was going to bring your attention here to this coffee table. There's a couple things that I wanted to share with you here. And so with the coffee table, I'm, again, obsessed with like things that have had a lot of love and I feel like they have a lot of energy around them. And so I really love like old, messed up dolls. Like not dolls, but like teddy bears and things like, that you would sleep with in your bed or whatever. And so it's so great because we have these amazing old dolls that are super duper old. They're a little bit messed up, but I love them because of that. Like little monkey guy's only got one eye. This guy's beard is, I'm not sure what's going on with that there, but super cool. I love that, they were obviously well loved by the children that played with them. And then what was super cool was that I ended up finding this book called Much Loved. And the cool thing about that is that it's all literally just these amazing portraits that they've done of animals that have been like super loved. Like this little guy's got no feet anymore. And like, this little guy's obviously had a lot of love on him. So it really kind of worked perfectly with these things. So, and there's a couple more on the built-ins over there that I'll show you when we get over there. But I did want to share a story about this table. So I'm going to move over here so I can tell this story while David is, I'll switch all the way around, I guess, because the lighting's better over here. So this table, we went to an estate sale that was up in Anaheim Hills. And we went in, and you can sometimes tell when you go into a sale, you're like, not really my aesthetic. But it always is worth a look. And so we were walking through the house, and David really loved this coffee table. He was like really super enamored by it. And we were kind of like, it's not really our style. Like Richard said, we were living kind of in a mid-century looking place, and we were like, it doesn't really, go really great with everything that we have. It was $40, okay? So we said, okay, whatever, we'll just get it. And just for the glass piece alone, because this glass piece is probably worth, a couple $100 itself. So we're like, okay, we'll get the table. So we bought it, and as we're taking it out and putting it in the car, the people who were running the sale, and they were like these really amazing older folks, and they said, the lady says, that really reminds me of McGuire, right? And I didn't really know anything about McGuire. And we're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And so when we put the glass in the car, and then we picked up the base to put it in the car, there's a little brass tag on the bottom that says McGuire. And it was so funny that when we picked it up, the lady saw the tag and she was like, oh, and we were like, oh. And she said, I'll give you $100 right now to buy the table back from you. And we were like, no, that's okay. We really like it. We're going to take it. So it did spark our interest. We're not really resellers. We don't sell the stuff that we have. We buy it because we love it. And but we do like to find out the history on things and stuff like that. So we did a little bit of digging on this piece. And it turns out that it's actually super collectible. And so, yeah, it was a funny thing that we got this table and they wanted to buy it back like immediately as soon as we were loading it into the car. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. So we obviously have a built-in over here as well. And what we did here is, I'm going to turn this book around because it's got a funny title. So what we did here is that rather than putting the books in sideways, we stacked them, we separated them by color because we thought that looked kind of interesting. And then obviously, this kind of glass, you see it at a lot of thrift stores, you see it at, at estate sales as well. And we really enjoy having it, when it's Christmas time or something like that, we like to fill them up with treats and whatnot. I think David might be focusing, and I did want to point out for the ugly toy thing, this piece right here are these two rabbits that are so amazing, and each one is missing an ear on the opposite side of its head. Here's a funny story about this. So we went to an estate sale in Santa Ana. It ended up being this dude who had flown to England or something like that. He was supposed to fly to California. He ended up flying to England. They called him like Wrong Way Charlie. That was his house. He was like kind of famous at the time. This was like way, way, way back. So this was his house, and you could tell, obviously, that like he had lived there forever. They never really went out. It was definitely kind of one of those houses where time had literally stood still in that house. And we went into one of the bedrooms, and there were so many toys in there that were so old and really super duper cool. And I just loved those rabbits, even though, Richard and David were like, why do you want those rabbits? And I was like, I gotta have them. They're super awesome. I just love that they were loved so much and that they've survived. So they have a little place of honor here. But anywho, back to the thing. We stacked up the books by color. We brought in the glass. We put it in front of the windows as much as possible so that we could, kind of highlight the clear aspect of it, and also kind of, looks better that way. I did want to show you this piece as well. Going back to that Jonathan Adler situation, right? So very similar to like the little head with the plant in it. This is actually a candlestick, and it's a Madonna and child. I hope you can kind of get some of that detail in there. Here's the little baby. Here's Mary. And it's super cool. And again, very Jonathan Adler in its look and its overall general aesthetic. And when I saw it, I was like, I gotta get it. So the great thing is that if you go to estate sales on the last day, this is just a little tip, it's 50% off more often than not. And so you go there and, everything that you're looking at, like say, oh, this is $2, it's $1. And you can get some amazing, amazing stuff on those last days at these estate sales. Behind David here, if he flips around, you can see our little fox friend here. And he is taxidermy. We have a few pieces of taxidermy. Not that I condone taxidermy, but obviously this is old and it's already existed. But this was a piece that we got in a case where we went to the house, and we, taxidermy is super duper pricey, and it's pricey even at estate sales. And so when we go to estate sales, especially if we're getting a vibe that like this house is definitely an awesome house and they've got amazing things that we're going to probably want to get a few things here. What we do is we bundle, right? So we will say, hey, can we start a little pile? And then you can just price the pile. And more often than not, they'll say, sure. And so this taxidermy was part of a pile that we had at this estate sale over in Fullerton. And so we were super happy to have him. We've had him for actually a long time. And it's great because we bring him outside at Halloween. He's part of our Halloween decor. We always put him by our Christmas tree. He helps kind of like get a nice woodland theme going there. And so really honestly, like if you look, this couch here it's a mohair couch. We got this at a consignment shop for, I think maybe a couple $100 or
$175.
$175 for that. And we've had it forever, and the cushions are full of feathers, so they're really, really sturdy. This leather couch that we have, this leather couch here, I think David's gonna cut, yeah, here we go. So this leather couch here, we got for $40, and you can see down on the bottom here, like this amazing, like kind of bamboo detailing that they have down here. It was funny because this house was in Orange Hills, and like in horse country. And we went, and I swear they built a house around this couch because it was in like this teeny tiny little room that was like in the very middle of the house. We had to go through, I don't know, like 8 doorways to get out of the house. And we almost had to leave it because we were freaking out, sweating, trying to carry it out. It was bananas, but we just couldn't pass it up. And for $40, and we've had this couch for probably, I don't know, 8 years. And again, it's so beautiful. The color is so amazing. And, kind of going back to talking about, shopping in estate sales and shopping in thrift stores and reusing things, we're, again, not resellers. So when we moved from our house to this place was much smaller. And so we really had to do a lot of editing because we do like to collect things. And as you can see by, going around the house, we have lots of little things. But we went and we ended up donating a lot of stuff to Goodwill. And the nice thing is because when you don't pay a lot for something, it's not super precious. You're not like, oh, this is like the most amazing thing that's ever been, made. But it's still something you love and you feel good about. And then you're able to kind of pass it along and let other people enjoy it. And so when we moved, we donated a lot of stuff to Goodwill. And what was so funny was that I was at the Goodwill that we donated it to, and we were having an event there, and Hadrian showed up, who's one of our influencers that will be working with us today, and he had one of my pieces in his hands. And it was so awesome to see like something that we had was moving on and going to be with Hadrian now. So that gives us a lot of good feelings, and we love doing that. So I think I hear Richard in the dining room, and he's putting together some stuff. So let's go in there and check it out.
You're right, I have brunch served here, and really excited for us to sit down and enjoy this meal. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about the tablescape that I worked on today. There's not one piece on this table that is not vintage. Everything here is at least 50 plus years old. And one of the great things that I really enjoy about putting together a tablescape like this is that not everything is matchy-matchy. It's not forced. It really is a representation of the things that I love. And somehow putting together the things you love just seems to make everything match. A lot of the items here are ceramic, glass, cast iron. You can see that some of the items went right from the stove right to the tabletop. And these things are precious. You can put them in the dishwasher. They can take a beating. These lasted this long, and they're going to last you too. And as you can see, the colors are kind of pulling together. Not one particular area, but it just seems to kind of say, we go. So I'm really happy about it, and it makes me hungry, and I'm ready to make it happen.
Absolutely. I am ready to eat. Thank you so much for taking the time to kind of check out the house. I hope it was interesting and kind of funny, and we really appreciate you taking the time out. Like Richard said, I feel like when things are loved, they just kind of go together. So thank you again from our house to yours. Stay safe during this time. We're looking forward to seeing you soon. We miss you guys a lot. Take care.